The DJI NEO 2. I have a question about this drone, and I'm sure you have a very similar question. How good is the tracking when this is following you? Because this drone is very much a personal flying camera that can kind of follow you anywhere. The way you control this, you can put your hand up, you move the drone around, you don't even have to have a controller, you don't have to have your phone. You can just take this drone off, start flying, and you get some really cool shots of yourself interacting with a space. And you could be walking, you could be running, you could be riding a bike, you could be driving a car, driving a motorcycle, up to the limits of how fast this drone will fly. So the big question that I have is, how well does this tracking work when it's avoiding objects? But before we get into some of the samples of the tracking, I've gotten a lot of questions of where you can buy a DJI NEO 2 in the US. So I purchased this one off of eBay, and I'll include a link down below in the description to the seller that I purchased from that was here locally in California. But there's also options if you want to buy one from like South Korea. It takes a little bit longer to show up, but also they are cheaper. However, we're talking about tracking. So I've used the tracking in a few ways. I was out in the desert tracking my buddy on his electric motorcycle as he ripped through the Trona pinnacles. I tracked our cars as we were driving through the mountains. And then also I was just hiking around some hills, found a place that had some different like trees and different areas to kind of explore. And I really wanted to see how the omnidirectional obstacle avoidance is going to handle things like trees. So I wanted to go through and duck through trees and, run around a bit just to test what the capabilities are of this little drone that you can take off from the palm of your hand and you have a personal flying camera. So for this first sample, let's look at this footage from the Trona Pinnacles when we were chasing my buddy Levi Allen around on his electric motorcycle. What's pretty cool is right up front, before you even start the tracking, the drone tries to pick up all the different things it can track. And you can see we're pretty far away, and it's picking up on the trucks, it's picking up on him on the motorcycle, and it's also picking up on one of us walking around. So you could just click the plus icon, and it's going to just start tracking and put it right in spotlight mode, just like other DJI drones. Now I'm showing this recording from the controller just so we could see how this tracking is working before we do just take off from the palm of our hand. Now right off the bat, you could see one of the limitations with this drone. As soon as we started taking off on this flight, we only had like a minute left because the battery life on this drone runs out fairly quick. So I'd already been flying around the pinnacles for a little bit and we were pretty close to running out of battery. And what's cool is turn on the focus track and instantly I could track Levi passing by. And even with these high contrast scenes, it's able to keep locked on no matter where the drone is flying, whether it's on the sun side or it's on the shadow side. The one limitation I had as I was flying with this was that downward motion. So it kept giving me an error that I was too close to the ground, and then it would slowly stop the drone here and there. And here's just a quick sample of some of the footage cut together so we could see how the actual footage looks, creating a little sequence out of these shots. All right, here's some of the other footage that we had of, driving trucks through like a mountain landscape. And you can see that this drone will track trucks. So it does distinguish between trucks or people. So you have different abilities to be able to fly and follow your subject. Now, what's cool that I noticed with this flight was that you could be pretty far away from the subject and still keep a solid track. And with this scene, there's a ton of contrast. Like the sun is right behind our subject. And the only time that it lost signal is when we actually lose the truck from behind the bushes. But overall, when you're using it with a controller, it seems like you have a lot of flexibility to be able to fly this drone and be able to get some cool shots and not have to have the drone super close to your subject. Just a clear line of sight, and it seems to lock on pretty well. Now, we got to try the gauntlet here. So I took this drone up to where I could fly around some trees, and I just ran through them with the drone tracking from behind. So when you take it off in this way, you just let the drone take off from your hand. And then you could do your Jedi mind tricks to kind of get it in position, whether it's behind, in front, to the side, whatever direction that you want, get the distance away, and then it will start following you from that position. This channel is supported by creators like you through the Creator Film School and my set of LUTs that I use to color every video you see on this channel. Inside the Creator Film School, you'll learn how to tell real stories. So if you're tired of making random content and want to create videos that actually connect with your audience, check out the link in the description or scan the QR code here on screen. All right, let's get back into the video. So one of the big things I wanted to test was how well can it track me through trees and different landscapes, when there's things in the way with this omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. And so you could see from this footage, like I was able to go through different trees and it would dodge the trees. The only time it got a little bit hung up following from behind was this one tree that had a lot of branches hanging down. It just took a second, found the path, and flew right through. Now, how does this look from the front? So as me and my buddy Jesse were heading away from the peak, we were doing this kind of front follow motion. And one thing that I found pretty interesting is that I started the tracking on me, and when Jesse started walking forward, like the track stayed on me, even though there's another person in the frame. So when he's like running at it, he got super close to that drone, yet it still stayed locked on me the entire time. And so it wasn't bouncing between people, rather it stays locked on to whatever the drone finds that the initial subject tracking is from the beginning. And you can see we're just running over this trail, and it's just keeping the same distance and the same relative position to that front spot as we move through this space. Now, as we come down this hill, there's another big tree, and it just gently drifted off to the side, moved around it, and then swung back into the front of us. And what I'm noticing is you're not seeing a lot of jerky motion when it is making these adjustments. So when it's sliding to the left or right to avoid objects, it seems to just do it gently, and it feels like it's just part of the motion. Even as we start climbing down these stairs here, you have like a ton of bushes in the way. And so it's trying to navigate itself around these trees while also keeping a clean shot. And you can see this is where it actually gets hung up. I go behind a tree and it can't really find me. It's trying to find the shot. It's kind of jumping up and down. I was trying to like get it to shift over, but there was a lot of trees, and I ended up just like running back up the trail, reposition it to behind. So when playing around with this tracking, obviously there's going to be limitations if there's a lot of trees and whatnot, but if you have a clear path where the drone can fly, it's going to navigate and find that path. So I brought it back down behind me, and I wanted to try, going down this kind of more narrow path with these stairs, because what's interesting is when you go up or down a hill, it really can track that height going up and down. So as I'm descending down this trail and down these stairs, it's finding the small path between all the bushes and trees while also tracking me going downwards. It's definitely not smooth in this setting. It's kind of pulsing back and forth. It looks like it's trying to find the correct path, and it's kind of pausing every time that it does. That's one thing that I've noticed is when it gets kind of hung up and it doesn't want to move forward because of like a crash or whatever, then it just pauses for a second and kind of refines the frame, finds the direction, and goes. But what I found is that it just consistently follows. Like I could have been doing this whole trail, not looking back, not paying attention, and it continually would have followed me down this entire way. And I can make sharp turns. So I'm coming up to this tree, I'm going to make a sharp turn around here, and it does no problem like swinging around and being right in the back. So you could do quick motions, and it still seems to be able to find me and just keep that positioning. So take a hard right turn here, it pans, follows me. Once it sees the direction I'm going, and then it takes off and starts following me from that behind position, always trying to maintain the same distance from behind. And the only time it really lost me was when I went behind Jesse and completely lost, view of me, and then it just went forward towards this tree and paused. I think the coolest thing about this tracking is that not only does it stay locked on, like that's obviously really cool, but the whole ability to be able to change the distance. So you can actually get a good shot of yourself, head to toe, and it's not cropped weirdly in any way. And you can do this on the fly. So you can push the drone further back if it's getting too close. You can reposition it in the sky using your hand. It makes it such an easier drone to use, and it allows you to actually get some decent footage. And comparing this footage to the Neo 1, this footage looks much better. And between that and the tracking, it makes this a really exciting drone to work with, especially for solo creators. If you want to see more in-depth videos about the Neo 2, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be putting out more videos about this drone soon. Now, if you want to see a couple other videos that I've done on the DJI NEO 2, I have one all about the cool Jedi Force tracking that you can do with this and move the drone around in the sky with your palm. And I also did one all about the audio capabilities because you can record sync sound using your DJI NEO. So check out one of those next. I'll see you over there.